Beginning at the Barrack Street end of the flyover, we're going to explore some of the features which used to be in and around the bridge, beginning with St Paul's Church, which used to be right at the end of the flyover, just as the roundabout begins. St Paul's suffered damage during the war and was eventually all swept away by the flyover route. Its footprint would have crept into St Crispin's Road, as the flyover is known, at this point. This is the view of St Paul's from the opposite direction, before the war damage, and what is left of its site is now known as St Paul's Children's Playground. Time for a map. The Barrack Street roundabout leads into the flyover, but Barrack Street originally continued, eventually terminating just south of the flyover. So we'll head in this direction and discover this lost part of Barrack Street. Here we are on the Barrack Street that no longer exists, looking back towards the future roundabout with St James's Church, now the Puppet Theatre, in the background. These houses were opposite St Paul's Church, and you can just see the tower of St James's Church in the distance. The continuation of Barrack Street would have met Peacock Street. Its present day route is shown in pink, and you can see it was cut off by the flyover. Historically, Peacock Street continued all the way to Fishergate, and this picture shows Barrack Street in the foreground meeting with Peacock Street running across the photo. The equivalent view today is immediately to the south of the flyover. We've now reached Barrack Street's former junction with Peacock Street and are now looking left towards another junction with St Saviour's Street. I'm now walking the same route as seen today, along a narrow footpath which comes out where St Saviour's meets what's now known as Blackfriars. Looking ahead, we see that the former Peacock Street ran as far as Fishergate and the Church of St Edmund. This is the same view in 1936, and then turning around 180 degrees we see Peacock Street running back towards its former junction with Barrack Street, just this side, the south of the flyover. I'm now standing on Magdalen Street looking at these two shops from virtually underneath the flyover. The one on the right was a pub, the Duncan Arms, and on the left there's Ling's Court, which was cleared for the flyover, the internal view of the court looking like this. This picture shows the clearance taking place, looking back up towards the current Puppet Theatre, and the 2021 view looking something like this. Looking west and directly under the flyover was the Dolls Hospital, which repaired and sold dolls and clothes, and nearby was the Elephant Pub. Many yards and courts were lost under the flyover. Here was Elephant Yard, and over there was Cat and Fiddle Yard. Time to get our bearings again, with Magdalen Street on the right of this map. Elephant Yard is in yellow, Cat and Fiddle Yard is in green, and next we'll look at the site of a Methodist chapel in blue and schools in orange. This is the site of a former Methodist chapel on Calvert Street, which had replaced an earlier one on Cherry Lane in 1811. This is that chapel, closed when the flyover came. Further to its right were Calvert Street Girls and Infants Schools in this location, and the schools had closed by 1904. The next road to the west is St George's Street, and this blue fence helpfully marks a corner of Stonemason's Yard and St George's Street, just to the south of the present flyover. This is the historic view of that corner. This pub was called the Cherry Tree from 1878, renamed the Golden Sovereign in 1978 before closing 10 years later. It was situated on the corner of Cherry Lane, which ran along the line indicated in pink. The continuation was called Greens Lane, but that name has disappeared, and the continuation, such as it is called Cherry Lane. This building is on the site of the continuation of Calvert Street, which ran as far as Boatolf Street, but is now terminated by the flyover. These two pictures are of the original Cherry Lane. Looking at the Cherry Tree pub from across the present roundabout, the historic view would look like this, with the entrance to Ely's Yard on the right of the photo. Moving in closer, it's now Pelican Yard on the right, and the central door that you can see led through to the Cherry Lane Chapel, which, as we saw earlier, was replaced on Calvert Street. I hope this gives some idea of this part of Norwich before the flyover.